Hello, ADNC family. It is Friday, and what I like to call Fry-yay. And
Hmm.
I am here live with my esteemed colleague, Theo E.J. Wilson. We are back to talk about yet another very important topic. But
Sure.
before we get started, and while we wait for people to join, how are you doing, Theo? It is Friday. How was your week?
Man, I've had a really good week. This is just something that, we leading up to the holidays. So reconnecting with family, finally got enough money in my life to not worry about gifts. And it's just as of other holidays, and I had a trying year. So the fact that this holiday is so far going so good, we're going to knock on wood with that. It's been good. How about yourself?
Well, I don't celebrate the holidays, but
Oh,
I
that's because
do
you got that.
I
Yeah.
do I do enjoy, just the time off and spending time with family and
Right,
friends. And
right, right.
there's a group of us that don't celebrate Christmas, and every year we get together and we have like a
Mm-hmm.
not Christmas
Hmm.
get
Right,
together, and all we do is just get together and we cook and we just have fun and just talk and just
right.
hang out, because that's the time of year where most people have time off, so you take
Hmm.
advantage of that, right? So that's kind of what I do, but hey, I don't judge,
That's what's
to
up.
each his own, to each his own.
Hmm.
But yeah, so today's topic, family, today's topic, oh my goodness. So
Hmm.
Theo and I decided that we were going to have a cross-border conversation about the
Hmm.
rise in, white extremist threats against our people.
Hmm.
I've identified and I've already spoke on this a few times about what's going on in Canada.
Right.
Um, and then I see what goes on in the United States. I see them walking around, with carrying Confederate flags and USA flags and chanting and all that good stuff. And but I just find that there's a rise. I'm seeing
Hmm.
a peak in the amount of this going on. So Theo and I were like, let's talk about this. Let us talk about this. Um, what are your thoughts before we start looking at some of the videos between Canada and the United States?
Well, my first thought is you can't wave the Confederate flag and the American flag. That's like banging two hoods if you like trying to gangster and trying to be a gangster. You got to pick a side. The Confederate and the United States was two opposing teams to the point where it was our bloodiest war in America. So that's my first thought. My second thought is this is what happens when you don't punish the Confederacy the same way that you punished the Nazis at the Nuremberg trials. When the North defeated the South, them boys all should have gotten the same treatment that any war criminal or treason committing actor, soldier, general, you name it, should have gotten. And the fact that the Confederacy wasn't punished correctly is what let them embers smolder until it is now a raging fire that we see today, plus the whole 100 years of Jim Crow.
But why do you think that any of it is attributed to what your president, the rhetoric that comes out of your president's mouth, as well as the mass immigration issue that's going on in the United States? Do you think that plays a role in it as well?
For sure. They go hand in hand with each other. And a lot of people don't realize that we've been inundated with news for the last decade and may
Yep.
have a fuzzy memory of what it was like in the environment in the country back in 2015 when he was first running. But you got to keep this in mind. I'm a time travel you back to 2015. Barack Obama was still president. Even Republicans were saying that Trump's rhetoric was too harsh. He was harshening the tone. Even back then, if you remember, and I remember this vividly, there was a black woman who went to protest at a Trump rally, and she got pushed, shoved, punched by all of these men, white men, but men in that rally. It went viral. If you
I
recall, it
remember
went
that.
right in 2015.
Hmm.
That's right when the Ferguson joint had been, really kicking off. BLM, the first real wave of it that had been started during Trayvon Martin's the trial for George Zimmerman. And so there were BLM activists at these Trump rallies, and Trump says, Knock the hell out of him, will you? I'll pay your legal fees. And that harshened the tone. When he gets elected, the Southern Poverty Law Center tracked a spike in race-based and gender-based hate crimes. The overwhelming number of victims were Black Americans. So that's the flashback to 2015. So now all these hate actors, they got jobs with ICE now. So what you think gonna happen? Now they get federal funding to round up the brown folk they don't like? That's what I think is happening. So yeah, they go hand in hand. And we could talk about the real causes of mass immigration, but I'm gonna get off the soapbox right now and share the microphone.
Hey, we're here. We're in this together, my brother.
Right, right.
So I feel I agree with you. I mean, I'm not going to put it all on him, but I will say, and I've said it before, because even here in Canada, his words hold weight. When you think back to when COVID was around and he kept calling it the China virus, and then all these Chinese people were getting attacked left, right, and center, right?
Right. And blackface got blamed for that, but it was really mostly white dudes beating up them Chinese folks, mostly.
Right. And
Right.
then when he was referring to Haiti and Africa as S-hole countries, look at what happened when he was saying Haitians are eating the dogs and the cats. They're eating the pets.
The dogs. They're eating the cats. The pets of the people that live there.
That's not a bad imitation.
I'm just saying. Everybody got a trunk. So many people eating dogs and cats. We love dogs and cats, don't we? They're delicious.
Oh my gosh, that was good, Theo.
Thank you. I try.
You're cracking me up right now. I'm just gonna go to the comments for a second. Teresa is actually a white woman and she really rocks. She rocks for us and she's always supportive. So Teresa, how you doing? She said, and she's talking about us, you are as magnets to these jerks. You have something significant they don't have. So we always talk about the envy and the jealousy and the insecurity and all of that stuff. Layla is cracking up at your Trump imitation, which was really good. Okay, really good. But you know what, we're gonna look at. I guess I'll start with Canada because I have spoken about Canada, and like I said, his words have weight here. There are a lot of ever Trumpers. There are people that love Trump here, love Trump. And so so what I've started to see here, like I've never seen before. And I always say it, I've been in Canada my whole life and I've never seen it the way it is now, which is we have all of these white extremist groups, Second Son, Nationalist 13, the Diabolon, like there's a bunch of them popping up and they're like all over the place, marching around. They're preparing for combat. They're in course and gyms doing combat training. They're preparing for a race war. They've got this Operation Take Back Canada. They're putting signs up everywhere. So I'm like, the same thing's going on over here. Like, what's up with these people? And then on top of that, it's not even their country. That's a whole other story. So, and I'm like I said, I'm seeing a lot more of it ramping up more and more and more and more. And I'm just going to play some videos of what we are seeing here in Canada, and then we'll look at the ones in the United States and we'll just talk about it because it is madness. So this is I introduce you, ladies and gentlemen, to Second Sons, head up by Jeremy McKenzie, and he's the only one who actually doesn't cover his face. The rest do.
All my sons! Canada first! Lead Flight back! Major General Isaac Brock, one of Canada's first true heroes, fell in battle right here on the battleground of Queenston Heights.
I just want to pause and explain who Isaac Brock is. Isaac Brock was a British soldier who fought the War of 1812, and he was responsible for fighting off the Americans from trying to take over Ontario. So they feel like he's a hero.
Gotcha.
Resisting an American invasion. The war had been a stalemate, And there was talk of concessions until Brock won an unlikely victory at Detroit that earned him a knighthood. The general valiantly defended our nation with inferior numbers of militia against a professional American army. The people believed defeat was certain, but Brock carried the war on his back and refused to give up when everyone around him told him it was pointless to resist. This is the kind of leadership Canada was born from. He fought from the front, leading by example. He risked it all despite the odds outnumbered 10-1. To fight for what he believed in. True love has no greater equal than this, a man who would lay down his life for his friends. That is the kind of true patriot love that this country needs and is dying without. Today, meanwhile, selfish multi-millionaire career politicians and do-nothing bureaucrats cower, hide, and pander to alien fifth columns while Canada is being pillaged, raped, and burned. Our children face an uncertain and dangerous future. Our reputation and our dignity are in tatters. How can politicians be the kind of leader Canadians deserve? Leaders like Isaac Brock, when they cannot even tell you what a Canadian is. They are not fit to say his name. They are not deserving of our support, and they are not worthy of the name Canadian. The honor of this name was won on battlefields like Queenston Heights, Capyong, and Vimy Ridge. Paid for in the blood of our irreplaceable sons. Now we are told that that name belongs to anyone and everyone who comes here. Our family name, simply by the material reality of where their feet happen to be planted. Madness! That name, the Canadian, used to mean something. And by the grace of Almighty God, it will again. We, the loyal sons of this nation, are not defeated. We are unbroken. We are unafraid. And we are not going to go home because we are home. Canada first. Canada always. Canadians to the bitter end. Salute, Major General Isaac Brock.
All thy sons! All thy sons! All thy sons!
Okay, that's about as much as I can stomach.
Right.
And what they were chanting in the end is "all thy sons," and "all thy sons" is a line that's in the Canadian national anthem. So it says, "True patriot love with all thy sons command." So they're calling themselves the second sons. And as I said, somebody just said nincompoops. Sorry, yeah, they are. I want to say that they're like literally the ringleaders right now. I want to say of some of the groups here, but there's also the Diabolon. There's Nationalist 13, as I told you. More recently in the news, they were saying that that we need to take it seriously, and so this is one of the most recent news outlets that came out a couple of days ago.
This brief prepared by the Integrated Threat Assessment Center says there's a realistic possibility of a violent extremist attack taking place in Canada, including one targeting the Jewish community. The briefing says the agency cannot discount the possibility of violence from a lone actor or a small group, saying it could happen with little or no warning.
So that just came in a couple of days ago. So they're literally saying we need to take it seriously because them going around Canada and doing these kinds of things, literally essentially they're saying is just a whisper. And there will be no warning. There'll be no warning. It's just going to happen and we don't know when it'll happen or how. And then just a few minutes ago, before we even came on, my brother, they had actually apprehended 3 men that were ready to carry out a violent attack on women and the Jewish community.
Neapolitan was launched after 2 violent incidents in the GTA, an attempted armed kidnapping of a woman in May in Toronto and another attempted armed kidnapping in Mississauga. Peel police connected the 2 incidents and arrested 3 suspects, Walid Khan, Osman Azizov and Fahad Sadat. Search warrants at homes connected to the accused in Toronto turned up firearms, ammunition, and high-capacity magazines, as well as alleged links to terrorism, prompting a parallel RCMP investigation.
Through this collaboration, the RCMP arrested Walid Khan of Toronto, who now faces multiple terrorism-related charges under Section 83 of the Criminal Code. These charges include terrorist financing, participation in the activities of a terrorist group, facilitating terrorist activity, and conspiracy to commit murder.
Khan is accused of providing property to ISIS, knowing it could be used to facilitate terrorist activity. Police say the suspect's alleged actions targeted women and members of the Jewish community. Azizov and Sadat are facing various firearm, kidnapping, and sexual assault charges.
So women were just going to go ham on women, just random women. Like literally, this is how bad it is getting. And on top of that, we have men, the same kind of men in masks, holding these massive remigration now or mass immigration now signs. They're showing up in malls. I mean, it's everywhere now. It's everywhere.
Let me just address the thing about women. This is all about their declining numbers. If you boil it all down, it's about the drop in population. They are reproducing at beneath replacement to the point that it's irreplaceable. I said, y'all don't need hate groups. Y'all need love groups. You need to figure out how to talk to these white women and have some babies with them. That's what you need to have. Y'all need to figure out how to make love, not war. Because what's going on is that they are afraid of being a minority in the game that their ancestors set up. And in any democracy, it's always winner take all if you get 50% plus 1 vote. So they see themselves becoming a minority. And instead of instituting policies that would actually grow the population of the young folks, which is something that we did here in America after World War II. If you have a livable wage at a younger age, more young people will have babies and they will start reproducing above replacement rate. This is universal, but they know that to do that, the brown and black young folks will reproduce as well. Now, I know a lot of folks don't like to hear the black and brown talk, but I'm just saying the reason why is because they've been brainwashed with right-wing talking points that says any social safety net program is un-Western, it's communist, it's socialist. But the fact is, that's exactly what had the baby boom generation work. And since they don't want to do that, and since they don't want to talk to women, we can talk about why that is, but they have fallen back into an old behavioral blueprint that's left in their past world. Both America and Canada are settler colonial nations, just like Australia, New Zealand, Israel, you name it, settler colonial nations. And that colonial violence had ethnocentric racial components to it, always has, always will. So when these young white men get to looking for tribe, belonging, right, a place of greatness in history, they reach back, and the only thing that they got is a lynch mob, rope, and burning cross. And so, since right-wing media radicalizes them with stochastic terrorist talking points, because that's what it is, that's the net result of how all of this pans out. And unfortunately, I think it's tragic. This is my last point on this particular thing. I think it's tragic that they are the planned outcome of Christopher Columbus. I think it's tragic that they're trapped on the wrong side of history, standing 10 toes down in a battle that they are going to lose. It would be one thing if they had a chance of winning. They actually don't. And that is the thing that's problematic about all of it, because when they lose, they're going to crash out even harder.
And the thing is, and that's, you just touched on something. I do think that there is this fear, this great replacement theory, fear that they have within them as well. And I will say on the Canadian side, during Trump's first run, he said something when he was saying that he was no longer going to allow Muslims. He put a ban on Muslims coming into the country. And then our then Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau.
Justin Trudeau, yeah.
He said, he put a tweet out saying, "You're welcome in Canada." Basically he said, you're all welcome in Canada. We don't, basically, we love everybody. You come on. And since then, there's been a mass amount of immigrants that have been, allowed back in. There's been over 5 million immigrants that were given visitor visas without security checks. They let in 2 terrorists without security checks that had every intentions on carrying out a mass terrorist attack in Toronto using a machete and an axe. So I think part of what's going on here with a lot of these groups, and trust me, I am not making excuses for them by no means. But I do think a lot of it is this fear. They fear, and they are not happy with the mass immigration that's going on in this country.
Let's
with
talk
the majority
about
of them being South Asian, from the South Asian community. It has caused job insecurity. Like the unemployment rate is crazy. Everywhere you go now here is owned by the South Asian community. Restaurants that you used to see and love that were owned by, I don't know, some person or some group of people is now owned by that. They're in pizza, they're in Chinese food, they're in Italian food. I mean, you name it, they're everywhere. Gas stations, you name it. And I'm telling you, the folks are not happy about it at all, because they're Billy and Bobby, can't get a job coming out of school. And they're like, what on earth? We want these people out of here.
Oh, so, Billy and Bobby can't get a job. Yeah.
Billy and Bobby they can't get a part-time job,
Oh, Billy and Bobby. Because
so I do think
Kumar
a lot of
and
that
Ahmed
is
have your job. We don't like Kumar and Ahmed having Billy and Bobby's job. Well, let's talk about why Kumar and Ahmed are here, homies. Let's talk about mass immigration, because here in America, it's the Latinos coming from Latin America, specifically Mexico and Venezuela. And everybody wants to know what drove them here, or should I say they should want to know. And it's very simple. The West has talked a good game about inclusivity and then actually done violent acts to places abroad. What do they have in common? Our intelligence and military apparatuses have made their places unlivable. And when you make other people's houses unlivable, guess what? They're coming to yours. The same thing's happening in Europe right now. So these places from the westward that have majority white populations got wealthy by parasite capitalism. And that always included military interventionism. Ask any African country, and they'll tell you we'd have been free right now had they not assassinated Patrice Lumumba, all the way on up to Thomas Sankara, all the way up to Muammar Gaddafi. The same thing happened. Now I'm going to talk about America and our parallels. Here, because Latin Americans are coming up here in droves, but nobody on the right wing talks about the century and then some of military intervention, topplings, economic hitmen, assassination, coups, you name it, that actually destabilized places like Honduras and Chile and Venezuela, you name it. The reason is because during the Cold War, a lot of these places in Latin America opted to go socialist rather than capitalist. And the narrative that's spun in America is that's because of the Russian influence. That's part of it. But the reason why they went socialist is because their colonizers were capitalists. So socialism and the ideals of socialism were more appealing when they decided to slough off their colonial masters. And so the United States CIA, NSA, they weren't having none of that, because the whole thing was, we got to stop the spread of communism, right? So they go and assassinate and topple one Latin American leader after the next. And then they put in a puppet, and the puppet was brutal. And they let them keep killing them citizens down there as long as the United States could keep extracting them resources. And what happens? It's unlivable. They coming up north. And the reason why they coming up north is because you got all the wealth that you sucked out from down south. They looking at all this cushy social safety net programs and all of this wages. And I was like, man, here's all my stuff that you stole in your backyard. And that's what they're not talking about on the right. They're just simply saying it's because they don't like white people. And that's what's got them racially radicalized, which is why they're going to fail, because they're not uprooting the chief cause of the migration in the first place. The same thing happened in South Asia. What happened? We made them poor. If it's Arabic people, you know what happened. War on terror, Operation Iraqi Freedom, destabilization of Syria, drone strikes in Yemen, Pakistan, you name it. Their houses are unlivable, and you got all this lovely free healthcare up there. Shoot, we about to come up there. You about to get an influx of Americans. This is the cause of it. And no amount of second sons or first sons, third sons, or Patriot Front, or Proud Boys is going to stop that.
That is true. But I have another question for you. Knowing that America was built by Black people, yet you have a president that's saying, I know I'm pivoting a little bit, but I just really want to get into this as well. You've got a president that refers to Black, countries where Black people are as S-holes and what have you, and saying, can we get people from Denmark or Norway? Can we get a few of them, please? Just a few. Just the other day he said that, and I was listening to it. I was like, oh my gosh. Don't you find it extremely problematic that, of course. Yeah, don't you find it extremely problematic when you see this kind of thing? I'm going to play. So now we're going to play America. We're going to play the folks marching around in America with their flags and what have you. Very similar to what's going on here. So there they were. I had to take the music off for copyright reasons, but there they were coming up the stairs. And then let me get the second one where they were just so proud. Let me see if I can hear it. Is
proud boys, ain't they?
The nigga KKKs is on. Holy in Nashville. Baby, they training these. I had some rhetoric in my phone. Baby. Look, this what we gearing up for?
That's y'all modern day KKK.
Look how they got their face covered.
Look
at this.
I crack on one of his feet.
So here's my question, because they always have their faces covered too. It's like, why aren't you with your whole chest? Why don't you just come out proud like your leader does? At least the leader here does. Well, why are you hiding your face?
I'm going to tell you why. Because of one word, Charlottesville. Charlottesville 2017, they tried it. And they were like, Jews will not replace us. And they were walking around with their faces out, and they got doxxed and fired and knocked all kinds of ways when it comes to like their ability to get rehired. And that was, so that's why the Charlottesville was like the first one that really was like huge here. That's in Charlottesville, Virginia. And after Charlottesville, then they didn't have their faces covered. They've been covering their faces ever since. But let me go back to what you asked about President Trump. Why don't we get more people from Norway? Why are we getting people from S-hole countries? And the short answer is because to the people from Norway, America is an S-hole country. That's actually the short answer to it. If you go to Norway, let's talk about Norway.
They're not leaving Norway. They're not.
Why would they come here?
They're not leaving Norway.
They're not coming here with you, sir.
They're happy in Norway. Norwegians are very happy.
They're not coming here for nothing. Not only that, but there was in a handful of incidents, and I was actually surprised about this. In the very beginning of the Trump administration, there were European immigrants, undocumented. By the way, there's 600,000 here in America that they don't talk about. But some of those undocumented white European immigrants did get caught up in some of these ICE raids, and those stories were blasted all over Europe. So now they really ain't coming here. And the next thing about it, about the S-hole countries, is they weren't S-hole countries when you was going out of your way to go kidnap them and bring them here, was they? One S-hole countries then. And in terms about being a Black American, being the descendants of those who were enslaved in this land, there ain't nothing new about this man. The only thing new about him is he think he tough as his ancestor, and he not. He not as tough as his ancestor. And the reason why we know he ain't as tough as his ancestor is we be knocking him out left and right down here. Now, I'm not going to get too into advocating violence, but I do advocate self-defense. I do come from the school of Malcolm X, by any means necessary. I will not start the fight, but I will end it. And a lot of Black Americans have that ethos. We not going to start nothing, but we finna end it. Run up, get done up, F-A-F-O. You know what it is. So there's one video after the next.
Yes.
And they're walking into a hail of Black fists. Women too. Yes. White women running up on Black women with the wrong energy, and sisters sitting them on their pockets. Again,
oh my gosh, so many.
It's like, look, man.
There's no shortage of reports that you and I can do together on this. I just saw one today where it was a woman that was one of the folks, and she was running her mouth to a Black man, and he snatched her up. Like, we're seeing it more and more and more and more and more. And I keep saying, you guys have to stop it. Did the Alabama brawl teach you nothing? Did the Cincinnati brawl teach you nothing? Like, how many times? And I say the same thing for here. Don't think that Canada is a bunch of weak Black people. There are Africans here. There are Caribbeans here. And we know what fighting is all about. We are not going to sit back and allow these people who have gone and they, they feel like they have to train, by the way, to train for a race war. They're in gyms training.
And they still getting set down. This is, all right. So look. Let's talk about the supposed race war that they supposedly finna kick off. A race war gonna be hard to fund when AI is taking your job. You can't find no bullets to buy. That's what, this is the blatant reality of what's going on. These people who think they want a race war are waking up all the time to the fact that their greatest enemy was the guy they put in office down here. So what's cracking is a split, right? There is a split in the MAGA movement right now. And it's very vocal because what's happening is these guys are radicalized in the podcast space. And the chief right-wingers in the podcast space are now at war with each other. You got Candace Owens against Nick Fuentes, against Tucker Carlson, against this guy, against that guy. And the reason is because there are two major factors that are dividing the right here in America. The first one is the fact that their life ain't getting no better. Turns out you can't fuel your mobile home off of liberal tears. You want to own the libs and trigger the libs all you want to, but that don't put no money in your pocket. And the second thing is because of the America first or Israel first battle. And we can save that for later. But what's going on specifically is materially, their lives ain't getting no better. And I knew their lives wasn't getting no better because Trump is a rhetorician. He is not a strategist or an economist. So he can win an election, and there's questions of whether or not he actually did that, but let's just give it for face value. He could win an election, but he don't know how to run a country. When you impose tariffs and have 150% tariffs on Chinese goods, what happens? China goes and buys its soybeans from Brazil. China goes and buys its soybeans from other places. Now the built-in market that these farmers took advantage of has collapsed, and nobody else is buying it because a lot of folks are in league with China. And now these farmers are unaliving themselves at alarming rates. You have a situation right here where, who'd have thunk it, you're rounding up all the immigrants and ain't nobody picking the lettuce. Ain't nobody picking the lettuce. The lettuce is dying on the vine. Now, we knew this would happen because Florida Governor Ron DeSantis got rid of all the Latino immigrants and the oranges and peaches died on the vine. So you want to round up the immigrants. All right, but do not be surprised if the produce aisle looks crazy. Do not be surprised if that doesn't improve your own life. So they were radicalized into self-destructive, hustling backwards behavior. And now they're about to turn inward on each other. Because the thing about these white folks who hate black folks, they don't really know any. And I realized that because if you knew us, you knew that your hero fantasy about running up on us and throwing the N-word was going to be one of the last mistakes you could ever make. There's a video here of a black man. Now hold up, because see, here in America, we got the Second Amendment. And brothers that I know, and perhaps myself, have been trained in conceal and carry. Just saying that might or might not be a possibility with me. Now, there's a black man in the South. I think it was at a Waffle House. You know, it always go down to the Waffle House.
What is it with the Waffle House?
What is it with Waffle House? Anyway, this is a Waffle House incident, and the security camera caught it all. There was no denying this. This white guy goes up and begins to verbally assault the black guy. The black guy tries to push him off. The white guy actually starts attacking him with fists. The black guy kind of endures it a little bit, tries to duck and weave. White guy's not letting up. The brother pulls out the blick, pop, pop, lays out the white dude. Everybody scatters at first, but then they see the gunfire has stopped. The brother lays down on the floor, puts his hands behind his head, and waits for the police to arrive. When the police arrive, they arrest the brother because he's still breathing. They haul off the white guy who was abusing him because of his race, and they review the security camera footage. The brother get off.
Okay, that is a really good news story. It doesn't always happen that way, but I will say in Canada, it's different. Okay, I'll give you an example. There has been a rise in the amount of thefts, auto thefts, home invasions that are going on here. And there was a story where there was one, group of punks that were trying to steal this man's car. And he took his weapon and he just shot it up in the air to scare them. And he got arrested.
Wow.
There was another man who broke into a man's home, and at 2-3 in the morning, he woke up to this man in his home. They got into a tussle. He rendered this man unconscious, and that man had life-threatening injuries. The man who owned the home got arrested because here's the law here in Canada. You have to be able to toe the line on how far you go. So basically, your punishment has to match the crime. So if you get into a fight with this person and you render him unconscious, you're supposed to stop there. You're supposed to stop and call the police. So basically they feel like your force was worse than what it should have been. Basically, if you jump through the window and you shot him, you get charged because he just jumped through the window. He hadn't done anything to you yet. So that, it doesn't work that way. I know. Trust me, I know.
Blink around here. Blink. You jump my house. We got castle doctrine, make my day law in America. We got so we got a little bit of that cowboy in us, and I live out west. I live in
It
the
is
wild, wild west.
madness. So
So
now we talk about, God forbid, these second sons or, Nationalist 13 or whatever, carry out an attack on some Black people. And you know how Black people fight. I mean, I had to fight as a child starting from age 6 in this country.
all my life I had to fight.
Right?
All
Exactly.
my life I had to fight.
All my life I've had to fight.
To
Okay.
fight. Right.
I have 4 brothers and 2 sisters, and we got into street brawls daily because we had to deal with anti-Black racists that wanted to fight us because they didn't want us living in that neighborhood. So fast forward to today, and we would always win the fights, by the way. Like there was no
we
match.
Be chucking them. I'll be chucking them. Come on now. I'll be chucking these. Look.
Not that we are not promoting violence. Let us.
I am promoting self-defense. We do not.
Yes.
We do not promote attacking people. No, we do not.
But you see what happened in the Alabama brawl, for example. Some of those Black people got charged.
Yeah, I bet they did.
Right. So it's one of those things where we get into this brawl and now we have to be like, oh, I rendered you unconscious. I'm going to go ahead and stop there. It's like at the end of the day, it's fight or flight. That's really what your mind is thinking, right?
Rather judged by 12 than carried by 6. Rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6. Because listen. All right, so all it takes is one Timothy McVeigh. For those of you who might not be remembering Timothy McVeigh, race soldier, formerly real soldier, who carried out the Oklahoma City bombing in 1995.
I remember that.
Right. So all it takes is one. All it takes is one active shooter. We got plenty of those, God. America, we get about 300 to 400 active shooters. Right. So this is a landscape that we're constantly navigating here. But one thing that's happening is, for example, these race soldiers in the early administration tried to pull up on these Black folks in Ohio. And brothers went and confronted them. And it didn't work and then the Black folks was outside with the long guns. Like, well, here's the season. Is somebody about to get peppered, right? So I think that the threat metrics and the danger metrics that Black people pose has been well documented. We have had to do that. Black Americans are specifically, and I'm just talking about in the American context, those of us who are from the slavery lineage have shown unequivocally that we are dangerous to mess with. So what I feel like is going on in this country is they trying to get their weight up with everybody else. They trying to get their weight up with the Latinos. They trying to get their weight up with the, Asians, and trying to get their weight up with the jumping into LGBTQ folk, because they know Black people are as much citizen and as much warrior as anybody here in America. But the problem with all of the measures that they're going to is there's not enough white folks for them to be successful here, to be effective at what they're trying to do. When you look at how these folks are now, we know that it only takes a handful of people to go crazy and to cause some mess. It only takes one bad actor to make the news nationally. But when it comes to a sustained repression of the people, once you study what sustained, successful oppression look like, you realize that they don't have the numbers, they don't have the effective governance, and they simply do not have the correct strategy to pull that off. And you got a lot of white folks, European descended people, who do not want their name on such hatred. And
I was gonna say, I'm
true.
starting to see more and more that they are standing down. Even when they see like a Black man just, put one of them on their face in a public space, everybody's just walking by and just
white
minding
folks
their
not gonna
business.
jump in for these hate.
They don't want that smoke. No.
They don't want that smoke with us. And so what does that teach us? Black Americans are within their rights to go full Malcolm X if we have to. We are within our rights to do that. In fact, sometimes that's the only thing that'll stop it. I said, because one of my first videos, and I got in trouble with Phil. Shout out to Phil. But I got in trouble with Phil for this because I had showed the full fight. You're supposed to blur it out on ADNC. But one of my first videos was based on the fact that, like, when we do defend ourselves, it sends a message to those who may be watching that this ain't the way to go. And you have a situation where if you want to pull off a fascist takeover, because these guys are fascists, whether you're talking about United States or we're talking about Canada, these guys are fascists, right? But there's one key thing that our fascist government is missing that other fascist governments had: a honeymoon phase. You got to look at the Hitler honeymoon phase, because when Adolf first takes power in 1933 in Germany, when he becomes chancellor, he rescues them from the economic downturn that Germany suffered from having to pay war reparations for World War I. He got jobs. They literally called it the Nazi economic miracle or Hitler economic miracle. You could look this up. So what happens is Hitler creates a honeymoon phase. There's employment like nobody's business. Standard of life goes up, all this other stuff. And then when he goes fascist, people are afraid to lose the honeymoon. So the threat of losing the honeymoon with, the depression being in living memory, they cooperate with him. Well, Trump ain't got that. There has been no honeymoon here. There's nothing to lose for even the people who are on his side. He just cut Medicaid, and now rural hospitals are shutting down in majority red voting white majority counties. Now, who you think they're going to be mad at? Because Barack Obama didn't do that to them. They boy did that to them. So without a honeymoon phase, they actually cannot be successful. They can march and do all the costume, all you want. You know that you're not going to come to my old hood Park Hill with that. You're not going to come to Harlem with that. You're not finna go to Compton with that. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to go to St. Louis, and you sure ain't going to go to Chicago with that. Not the South Side, because them boys waiting. So do your parade, son. But in the meantime, I hope you got enough gas to get back home. That's what the reality is.
And I say the same thing over here north of the border, the
Right.
exact same thing. Like, we have areas, and my brothers and sisters here that are in Ontario, they know about Jane and Finch. They know about Chalk Farm. They know about Regent Park. They know about Jane and Lawrence. They know about Little Jamaica. And the one thing I will say about Black Americans that I feel like we fall short here in Canada, and I'm just going to say this before I go to the comments, because the comments are on fire. So we want to talk with some of them. But is that you will never be able to come in these areas, okay? And it doesn't matter how much you train for combat and all that kind of stuff, and think that you're going to come at us and we're not going to defend ourselves.
Right.
Just not, it's absolutely impossible that you're going to do this. So you can continue to train, you can go in the forest, knock each other out all you want, do your combat training and all of that other stuff.
Right.
But one of the things that we, like I said, what Black Americans do really well is you guys will come together. When I saw what happened at the Alabama brawl, and I seen that dude swimming from yonder.
Aquaman in the building. Aquaman swimming to the smoke. Swimming to the smoke. Let go.
And when I saw Cincinnati too, I'm watching that. That is what is lacking here. I find that's what is lacking here. And that's not that I'm suggesting we all get together, and I'm not promoting.
We never advocate aggressive, offensive. We never do that.
The unity is a problem in this country, I find.
I see.
I do. So I feel like we as Black people from Caribbean, from Africa, from all of the other parts, we need to find a way to unify when we see this kind of thing happening. And that's what I have to say. And that's my note to the Black people in Canada. Go watch the Alabama brawl. Go watch the Cincinnati brawl. Go watch it. And that's what we need to be prepared for and do. I'm just going to go to the comments here because, man, our people are here for
Let
us.
go.
And here
Let
for
go.
this
Comment what y'all
conversation.
got to say.
So one person says that people around the globe are tired of immigrants. Well, listen, I'm not tired
Stop
of
blowing up their
immigrants.
house then. Stop blowing up
I'm
their
not
house and then stay
tired
in
of
their house.
immigrants. I'm not tired of immigrants. I just have a problem with the way the liberal government has handled it.
That's
But
fair.
I'm not tired of that. I blame them for the way that they've handled it and the ripple effect of the way over, more than houses are being built, more than the healthcare can handle in this country, more than, just everything is, the homelessness, everything is up and it's nothing good. So that's my only thing, but I'm not tired of them. I'm not. So let me see here. The smallest percentage of people on the earth are always the most hateful. Yeah, I agree. Let's see here. Yes, I agree. She said they love stolen land. She's talking about second sons over there. On here, they keep talking about taking Canada back, and it's not theirs. And by the way, Black people were here since the 1600s. So a lot of Black people were here before those people were
even before that. In some cases,
exactly.
so yeah, I mean, we can talk about that, but go ahead. We're reading comments.
Let's see. Does Canada have birthright citizenship? Yes, they do. Always study your enemies, what they are doing. So we now have to defend ourselves because growing up in Jim Crow era and how KKK operates to outdo them in their own game. Yep. One person says this is serious. It is serious, but we are also serious too. That's all I'm saying.
They keep finding out how serious we are.
Ourselves and our family. Yeah, so Sheila says studying them is key. For a proud group of WM, why do they hide behind masks? That's what I'm always saying. But one thing I also do say too is they hide behind masks because I feel like it's cowardice. That's the first thing. And then secondly, it's like we as Black people have to also be mindful of that as well because we don't know who they are, right? So we have to be, we got to be mindful, keep our heads on swivel, I say all the time. Yes, the last report I showed, yes, they definitely are from the Middle East. But my point is that whether they're from the Middle East or the folks, there's a target on our backs. So, at the end of the day, they're out for us and we got to be prepared for it.
Right.
The Hug Gang says, teach. That's what it's about. That's what we're here to do. Let's see. I mean, there's so much, Theo. So many.
I know. If you wouldn't mind, Sister Emma.
Yes.
There's a buddy of mine who is a financial planner who just got back from touring all over Asia. He's a Black man. He went to college with me at Florida A&M. Shout out to the Rattlers out there, Rattler Nation. And he went to all of these beautiful cities. And they look like the Jetsons compared to us. They look like the future. And the crazy thing is, we as a country had a head start on them. So where did our money go? Our money went to the imperialist projects around the world. I'm talking about Americans. We have 750 to 800 military bases all over the world. That's so many bases. We have, and all of them need to feed, house, clothe, arm all the people there. That could have gone into healthcare, could have gone into skyscrapers, could have gone into infrastructure, roads, bridges, could have gone into high-speed rail, higher speed internet. There are so many projects that America missed the chance to invest in. And one of those projects was the infrastructure in the southern states where you see most of these hate actors coming from. I went and filmed a documentary on the civil rights movement in Selma, Alabama, where the Edmund Pettus Bridge was, John Lewis, all that. There's buildings there that ain't had a coat of paint since Dr. King seen them buildings with his own eyes. They have divested in American infrastructure, partially because of a phenomenon called drained pool politics. Drain pool politics is from the Jim Crow era when it was first getting integrated. The first place that got integrated was the community pool. And when the judge said integrate this pool, the old folks in the white community said, nah, drained the pool so neither black children nor white children could swim. But they did that with all sorts of public infrastructure. And those people then went on to become legislators and soldiers, generals, the whole nine, sometimes even presidents. And they continued drain pool politics to fund supremacy over quality of life. And when you fund supremacy over quality of life, that hustles backwards because now you got the conditions that cause MAGA to begin with. These white guys in these southern states are complaining because there's no unions, there's no jobs, there's no money. And the reason why there isn't any is because the white guy at the top took the money. But the white guy at the top also owns the right-wing infrastructure that got you mad at the black man at the bottom with you.
And the white guy at the top has some really bad rhetoric that gins them up. It's like
That
red meat.
gins them up, make them mad.
Big time.
All
Yeah,
that,
and so they are pointing the finger in the wrong direction.
in the wrong direction.
Yes.
There have been multiple attempts in America to organize across race into class solidarity movements. And black folks have always been willing to do it. But when it looked like equity was about to happen with black folks because we earned it, more than earned it, white folks at the top were able to dog whistle to white folks at the bottom to make them feel superior to the black folks at the bottom with them, and thus destroying class momentum. In the meantime, the white guy at the top take everybody money. And now, generations later, these Proud Boys and second sons find themselves bereft of money, opportunity, and jobs, but blaming the people who've been stolen from too, rather than the people who stole from all of us. And since waging a race war ain't gonna solve the problem, they hustling backwards, unfortunately.
Yeah. And you know, I'm just gonna say this because we're like, I could literally talk about this for 3 hours.
Right.
But just in closing, I'm just gonna say what Gregory Hayes has said, they don't want none of this. And that is the
They
truth.
really
So
don't.
I'm going to use the words of your president when he said to the Proud Boys, stand by and stand down.
Stand back and stand by. Stand back and
It was
stand
something
by.
like that. So I'm just going to say the same thing to Second Sons, the Diabolon, Nationalist 13. Stand back and stand down. You do not want this fight. I promise you, you do not.
Because it ain't gonna get you what you want.
No, it's not. It's not.
Yes, it'll get you lumped up from some black fits. Yes. Look at the internet. There's plenty of evidence. We be lumping them up. But also, it doesn't solve the problem that truthfully radicalized them in the first place. And that's why they really don't want to do it. It ain't gonna put no money in your pocket. If anything, it'll get you locked up and missing your front teeth.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I say this all the time, which is we're not going anywhere.
We right here.
And what what the folks need to realize, and that goes for Canada as well. First of all, as it relates to the United States, it's black people who built that country. It's black people that built that White House that your president is enjoying his life in. It is black people. So if anybody needs to be the ones running people out, it should be black people. Okay. And that goes for Canada as well. Black people have been here. Black people, and this land is the indigenous people's land, and they are black indigenous people. So once again, it's not yours to take. And now I can say this about the immigrants. There are some that are here that are not doing right here. They're just not. Just like there are some in the United States. But in comparison to the ones that are here and they are indelible contributors to this country, you need to be quiet and just stop. Stop.
Because last time I checked, Jeffrey Epstein wasn't no immigrant either. Last time I checked, all the people who crashed the economy was native-born white guys who lost $9 trillion in home equity. When you look at the crimes, these active shooters, They're not immigrants. They homegrown. They the ones that's the
Exactly.
problem.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's the thing. So your president, I find, is when it comes to, for example, the two people that attempted to take his life, I'm not hearing a lot of where's the outrage? I'm not hearing all this outrage.
Man, I'm
The
just
person who's allegedly took out Charlie Kirk, I'm not hearing any outrage. But
man.
but could you imagine if there was,
Oh yeah.
God forbid, some sort of attack on Black people and it was an Alabama brawl on steroids and
Mhm.
y'all just, took care of business, how he would be crying from the rooftops about Black people and
Right.
how, right. So it's like you need
They're
to,
eating the chitlins. They're eating the fried chicken. They're eating the collard greens they grow there. So right, but I think that the the basis of Trump's power is the fact that the right wing and their cities and states, their jobs, infrastructure have been divested in, thus making them ripe for radicalization. One thing that we have to talk about, the roots of this radicalization that you're seeing now pop up in these Proud Boys and Second Sons, stems from the crash of 2008. Now, here's something that I want to put squarely on the Democrats' shoulders and squarely on the shoulders of Barack Hussein Obama. Because what happened in the crash of 2008 was flat out, it happened on George W. Bush's watch. The theft of the bailout money used to give bonuses to inept CEOs happened on Barack Obama's watch. And he didn't put nobody in jail. Not only did he not put nobody in jail, but when the taxpayer money bailed folks out, he bailed out from the top and not the bottom. So in the crash of 2008, who really ate dirt was red state white America, who had just voted for him because it was like, let me just take a chance on the Black guy a little bit. Barack Obama won a lot of states that are considered red states right now. But when he went and sided with Wall Street instead of Main Street, and these folks lost their house just in time to get addicted to the opioids, which had just flooded the market at that time, they left these voters vulnerable to when Trump said, make America great again. And that can't be overstated. George W. Bush was such a terrible president that they was like, let me take a chance on a Black guy. And there was such a cry of happiness and joy, and we have overcome. Implicit in that was that Barack Obama was going to take care of these bankers that caused the crash. That Barack Obama was going to stop these wars. Barack Obama bombed more countries than George W. Bush, and he bailed out the top and not the bottom. So now everything that he looked like he stood for, diversity, equity, inclusion, and a race-neutral America, looked as BS as the rhetoric that got him into the White House. And when Trump comes in, he takes advantage of all of that kindling that Barack Obama and the Democrats left by not taking care of red state white America in the crash of 2008. You could say the crash is on Bush's shoulders, but when it came to who was supposed to clean it up or who had a mandate to take care of that, it was Obama. He failed them, and Trump took advantage of that failure.
And there are some people in the chat, just, to close off because our hour is up.
Mhm.
But I propose a part 2 because this is definitely not a conversation you can have in just 1 hour. It's
Okay.
a lot. It's a lot to unpack. So we will be back with a part 2 for sure. But I all I have to say again is unity on our end.
Mhm.
And we just want peace. That's all we want.
That's all we ever wanted.
Kellen is already saying he wants a part 2, so we're here for it.
I know.
But unfortunately, family, we have run over time, but we will be back. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for hanging out with us for an hour and 4 minutes. We will love you and leave you. Have a good weekend. We will see you again. Look out for our part 2.
Part 2 coming. Thank you
Bye,
very much.
everyone.
Peace.